Hey guys, Mike here. So we got a huge week coming up for the market this week, and I mean, ton of economic data, earnings, you name it. We're going to get into all of that right there. But I'm going to start off with this. I looked long and hard to figure out what happened to First Republic Bank, and I finally figured it out. And I'm saying that jokingly, of course, but I did run across this, and I thought everybody get a good laugh out of it. Seems like, well, Jim Cramer happened, right? He said FRC is the new focus. Very good bank on March 10th. And of course, it drops after that happened. And so there it is. And again, I say that jokingly. But what is happening, though, just to follow up on Friday's video, the FDIC is taking into account a bunch of bids. They're still trying to get somebody to take this bank over. JP Morgan, PNC is two of the bids coming in. And again, I'm going to be curious of what the bid is starting at. But, I found it interesting that the stock actually went up in after hours after I did that video. It was like $1.80, went to 233. So instead of being down about another 47%, it's only down 33%. So it will be interesting to see if this stock gets bid up like 100% in pre-market Monday morning, because they could announce tonight what's going to happen. Now, of course, they didn't want the stock to actually do that. They would have waited till Monday to actually announce it, but they may announce it tonight. If that happens, put in the comments what you think is going to happen. I think it'll go to the moon. I mean, again, if it goes up $2.33, that's 100%, right? So you're like, hey, great. That's not a whole lot, but I mean, you can see that it dropped. What was it, like 70% or something in 2 days? And so that'll be interesting to watch. Again, another bank, so we'll see how it goes. Now, I will say this, the cost to insure against the U.S. default is rising significantly, as you can see right there, compared to 08. I mean, any other time. 2011 was a big one. We actually almost defaulted then. Actually, we got our credit downgraded because of those idiots in D.C. But you can see, I mean, the politicians out in full force on this right here about the debt limit, or the debt ceiling, excuse me. And for those who don't understand, the debt ceiling, when they raise it, that is to just pay for stuff we've already approved to pay for. That's not for new spending. That is stuff we've already said, this is what we're spending on. Okay, that's what that is. And so, again, it don't matter whoever's in charge, the opposite side comes out, and they're like, we can't raise it without stipulations and cutting spending. And then we flip side, and the other side does it. It's always amazing to watch. I mean, they've raised it, was it 132 times or whatever the mess is. But, keep that in mind. We'll see where it goes. The one thing we don't want is a downgrade again in our debt. Now, this is something that could happen coming up this week, okay? And the Fed could come out, do a 25 basis point hike, and then pause, right? And so you'll see this a lot. I'm going to dig into this more for us and actually go through the charts, because you can see there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times this happens. So I'll dig into the charts and get a little more detail. I like to look behind the curtain on these things. But you can see this is the average return 1 year after the final raise in the Fed funds rate. And it's kind of all over the place. Average is about 13%. So you can see each time is different. Again, I will dig in to see if there's any rhyme or reason or whatever, how it's happening. Because usually what happens is you get the pause. And of course, this market's already priced in like cuts like 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later. So, which is going to be interesting. Again, this is a year after. So many things that you've seen can happen in a 12-month period in a market like this, which is a lot different market than it was in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, right? So again, we'll have to take a look at that, and I'll present that data to you later on this week probably. And before we continue, guys, if you're getting anything out of this, please hit that like and subscribe button. Think about sharing the video with your friends and family. And if you're new here and you like the content, please hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And before we get into the charts, I did want to say, because I don't say it enough and I know it, that, I really appreciate all your support, guys, because we're almost to 60,000 subscribers. And if you asked me when I started this channel, what was it, 2 years ago, whatever it is now, that there's no way I would have been 60,000, but hoping for 100,000 one day. But again, really appreciate all your support. You guys share the video. You're unbelievable. And I think we do have a great community, because I only get trolled by like a couple people, which is, if you look at other channels, they got a lot more trolls. So, I think it's because we do have such a, I guess you could say, a mature crowd, to be honest with you, even for the young folks that are in here. But and I'll actually show you something. I never show this stuff, but for those who are interested in this kind of stuff, here's like the demographics of the channel. And again, it's a mature crowd. So I mean, you got 35 to 54 is your main two right there, almost tied. And so you still got some young folks. So it's a big difference. But what's funny to me is gender. Like, I guess, I don't know, women just don't like me because like 7% of the channel over the last year versus like 93% male. Not sure why women don't like me, but they just do not. And I thought what was interesting though was the geography of this. If you've ever wondered, actually 73% comes from the United States, but then almost 27% comes somewhere different, like Canada, England, Australia, Singapore, Germany, Netherlands. Hit me up in the comments if I mention your country here. Sweden, New Zealand, places I definitely want to visit. And so you can see it goes on and on down, but pretty much all over. That's what I love about YouTube. Obviously, it's different, but I really do appreciate everything you guys do. It's unbelievable. And, you know, again, I try to make this channel the best I can. If you ever have any kind of suggestions, I usually try to take them and do it, like learning the lighting, which I didn't know anything about, and the camera. Some person in there, and one of the viewers mentioned how to work the camera, and so I went in there with the lighting and stuff and tried to figure stuff out and working on audio, anything I can. So, you know, I really appreciate it, guys. Again, I never did any of this kind of stuff before I started this channel. So, again, appreciate all your support. So, thank you very much on that. Now, getting into the charts, I'm going to go on a longer view because we did cover the daily charts Friday. And you can see right here, this is the weekly, right? If you look on the weekly, you got the anchor VWAP right there from the all-time high. We're sitting right on there. It's been great support for this. As you can see, sitting right on that volume POC right there. Again, plenty of momentum moving up. So the bulls are definitely in charge. Plenty of volume right there. See that volume gap on the weekly? So if we end up getting some kind of good Apple report, FOMC, the market thinks, oh man, they're pausing finally, we're done, or you know, Jerome Powell says, yep, we're done, we're gonna do this pause and or this rate hike and we're done. You could absolutely see us blow right into that volume gap. So that would be a nice move up, maybe start challenging the August highs. So keep that in mind. Also, I think it's Weinstein, I could be mistaken, was the gentleman's name, but this is the 30-week moving average. This is where you're looking for to see where the market somewhat is going. You can see that 30-week moving average is starting to turn up, right? And you see that area right there, and what you're looking for is for it to come up, reject, and then come up, reject again, then break through, and then come down and retest, right, to turn that into support. And you see that on the Qs happening right now. The S&P, somewhat similar, still waiting for a breakthrough, though, to come up and retest come down, even though you got the 30-week moving average starting to turn up. And so just like on the Q, so keep that in mind. These are longer term time frames, right? Not shorter term. So keep that in mind. Now, Apple, you look at Apple in two ways. We got obviously earnings coming up, but you got this rising wedge, right? Which some people are looking for a breakdown between 163 and 176 is the weekly expected move, even with earnings. Or you can look at it like this. On the weekly right here, that was the daily I just showed you. On the weekly, you see a breakout, right? And so again, it's going to depend on earnings, which is kind of interesting because still in the weekly has plenty of room to run, nowhere near overbought. And Apple usually doesn't guide, right? And so, and there's just such a huge amount in these ETFs and so much big money in this that you just can't imagine it's going to come down either way unless earnings are just disastrous, right? NVIDIA, waiting for either a breakout or breakdown, right? It's either accumulation or distribution. And you can see right there the bearish divergence on the RSI, which has been going on since the beginning of April. But again, if this thing breaks that trend line right there, then you can bet money we will be going higher. Okay, and so keep that in mind because that is a lot of consolidation going on either way. And if it breaks down, obviously, you can see a big move down to that gap down there. Now, Meta started to move into the gap, right? But then said, nope, no thank you, we're good to go. Huge gap below, huge gap above, obviously. You look on the weekly, it's actually closed above the 200 weekly moving average. Last time it rejected. And to me, I mean, it respects that trend line more than it does the 200 weekly moving average. But again, the fact that it actually closed above is actually still bullish for Meta, okay? Now, here's earnings. Earnings is loaded. There's not any earnings on here besides Apple I see that can move the market. Because remember, these are these stocks that really aren't participating. A lot of them just aren't participating in this rally. They're really stuck in zones. We think they're going to break out and they don't. So, but you got a lot of popular ones, right? You got SoFi. You got Norwegian Cruise Lines. Are we still cruising? You got MGM Resorts. Are we still partying up there in Vegas and everywhere else around the world? Then you're going to have Uber, Pfizer, BP, Marriott. So a lot of oil companies, hotels, all that good stuff, right? AMD is going to be a big one, obviously, for semiconductors who've been on a tear. Ford, will they have a GM type earnings? We'll have to see. Obviously, Starbucks setting new 52-week high after new 52-week high, right? A lot of big names in the morning on Wednesday. Then we'll get another semiconductor in the PM, Qualcomm. Okay, keep that in mind. I haven't talked about Fastlane forever. Etsy's something to watch because obviously this is going to be another Amazon where they pop up and then go, nope, we're slowing down, and then come crashing down. Datadog's kind of a popper one. A lot of big money in that one. Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines is another one. Are we traveling? And then we get to the big one, right? The big daddy of them all, Apple. Thursday after the bell. You also have Shopify, Block, Coinbase, DraftKings, Lyft, Fortinet, and who is, oh, Carvana. I can't believe they're still in business, but there they are. Bookings, of course. Are we still traveling? Seems like we are, right? Or is there finally a slowdown on that? And then you're going to have these stocks that have just been hammered down, like AMC, and then Fubo is literally down 99%, I believe. Somebody pointed that out to me. It's like $1 or something. It's done absolutely nothing, but it's highly shorted, so I can only imagine it's sitting at $1 right there. People are going to be playing that one for earnings break and to see what happens because, you know, who knows? It's Fubo TV. And so then we'll go into, obviously, a lot of economic data. And it's loaded this week. And we start off right out of the gates with S&P Global Manufacturing. They're expecting an increase. I think it's the one that caused off guard last time. And then the rest of the manufacturing data was garbage. And then, of course, you'll have other manufacturing stuff come out right here. Construction spending. That one surprised me last time. But, again, people are spending. Some people said it was more of the government spending, so I can believe that as well. Tuesday, JOLTS job reports. That's always a big one. Then you're going to have your factory orders. People are going to be paying close attention to that because that's going to obviously put a spotlight on the economy. Again, more real estate data. Then we'll go into the services part, and that's what you need to pay attention to because that's what's driving inflation, and it's really hard for the Fed to get that under control right now. We've never had a 70% services economy. So, again, you go down here, you'll have a lot of oil stuff coming in. Then the big one on Wednesday, the Fed interest rate decision. We are pricing in like 95%, I believe, 0.25%. A lot of people are betting this to be the last one. And we have not been sitting at 5.25% on the Fed funds rate in a long time. And then you'll have the press conference. So guess what? Volatility galore. People are going to be playing options like crazy, all right? May 4th, this always comes after the Fed meeting, which is kind of funny. They already know this data, of course. All the jobs data coming out, right? Then you'll have Friday. Again, a lot of payroll data is going to be coming out. And then you'll have the unemployment rate right there on Friday. So, again, we're expecting a tick up. Last time we got a tick down. Participation rate is going to be a big one to look out for. And plus, are the hours still moving up? Is the earnings still moving up or not? Is that something to finally start coming down on? And for those who are still with me, again, I read the comments. And so last video on Friday, for those who didn't see it, I had said, you know, when they want to bring regular people's pay down, nobody ever talks about executive pay, right? And of course, some of the comments, you know, put a comment in there and I read it and I said, okay, what that person doesn't understand, for those who may not understand this, is it's not up to the shareholder what the CEO makes. It's up to the board of directors. What people don't know, and there's no reason for you to know it, and I wouldn't know it if I didn't have this channel, is the way the board of directors is said is shareholders are supposed to vote on the board of directors. But think about it. Who puts them up for the vote? Who selects them, right? It's supposed to be a committee. Who's on that committee? A lot of times, the CEO, CFO, all the executives, right? Well, the board is supposed to be independent. They're the ones that approve CEO pay, executive pay, that kind of stuff, and a lot of other things, right? Well, over recent years, probably in the last 10, 15, 20 years, really, what's happened is you had a big shift, right? The board is not independent from a lot of companies anymore. And I'm not seeing on Tesla out for this. I'm just saying they're the most recent in the news about this. I mean, they just settled a lawsuit, I believe it is. That started in November 2022, where somebody sued them because of the compensation package. I think it was like $50 billion compensation package for Elon Musk. Well, what did Elon do? He's smart. He's actually the chairman of the board as well, by the way. He puts his brother on the board. He puts one of his best friends on the board. It's not allegedly. They were on the board. I mean, they've been testifying, right? So that shows right there the independence isn't there. Now, he founded the company, so I don't care what he does. What drives me nuts is these people who have no skin in the game, who just get hired out of nowhere, and they're getting in, you know, they stay with the company for a while, and all of a sudden, as board members leave, they start stacking the board in their favor. That's what happens. They put up these appointees, and they don't care which one it is, because they want people that are going to approve the compensation packages, be on their side. They're not really representing us anymore, the shareholders, which that's not a good thing, of course. But if you look on a lot of boards, you'd be surprised how unqualified a lot of these people are, are the relationships they have with the executives, right? They go on family vacations, they hang out, they went to college together, all this stuff, which is not supposed to be the case. But unfortunately, that's just what's happening. So for those who didn't know that, just FYI, look at the companies you own, look at the board, look at the relationships they have. Are they really independent, or are they actually more cozy up to the executives? And so that's what's been happening a lot lately. And that's why you see, if you ever wonder, like some of these companies, they'll have the same CEO for years that's just running the company in the ground. And you're like, what's going on? Like, that's where the board is supposed to come in at, but they don't, right? And a lot of the people get pointed on the board. Have you ever seen, especially the medical companies, these are the big ones, you'll see a lot of politicians come out of office and they'll get appointed to the boards because they make anywhere from like 80 to 200,000 a year just to be on the board, and they get a boatload of stock. I mean, it's a lot, right? I mean, I showed you how much Elon Musk's brother has. I mean, it's an unbelievable amount that he just sold, right? So it's really crazy what they get for it, but it's called pay to play, right? They did something for the company. Now they're going to get appointed to the board. They're on the executive side. So the shareholders really don't have a whole lot of representation. Okay, that's what it is. And that's why you'll see somebody like Carl Icahn, or one of those big boys out there that have a lot of money. They'll come into those companies that they get mad about they own, that they feel is being ran wrong, and they'll try buying up shares. They'll demand seats on the board, that kind of stuff. That's why that happens. So things have changed, just for those who don't know and stuff. So appreciate somebody who put that in the comments, but just wanted to address that. So anyway, it's going to be a busy week, a lot of volatility, no doubt about that. Over it's FOMC, a lot of economic data, Apple, of course. And so we'll see what happens right now. Remember, the bulls are in charge, short and long term at this point in time. That's why I want to show you some weekly charts to show you what's happening right there. Okay, and so like I said, I know already the comments are going to get blown up. People saying, yeah, but we've never bottomed when they're raising rates. And you're right. That's just the way it is, right? And then and what's this rally? A lot of it's based on this pause, the rate cuts, all that stuff is based on like, hey, how much liquidity we got in the future we're going to be getting, right? Because one thing we're going to have to see is we just had a drop in liquidity from the Fed balance sheet, from the general account of the Treasury, increasing it back up instead of actually flooding the market out there. And then, of course, with the repo program. So we'll have to see how that affects. Usually has a lag effect. And again, is it still going to affect this market? This is something we got to see, just FYI. Keep that in mind, by the way. So anyway, if you got anything out of it, again, appreciate all your support. Hit the like, subscribe button. Think about sharing the video. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.